Well, it very well may get worse before it gets better. It will get better though. Definitely will get better with this process. It always does. But it may get worse first. As you're reabsorbing stuff from your colon, your vision is likely to get a bit blurry, feel a bit weaker, but that's a temporary thing. So what you did before, which wasn't really fasting, if you're consuming anything else, I don't really know how the body would react to that. But yeah, it gets better for virtually everybody. I'll tell you, years ago, I spent some time in Virginia Beach, a few months on a project, and I met a woman there who, from this distance, like where my phone is, she could see there was something in front of her. She was legally blind. She could see there was something in front of her. She couldn't see it was a person. She could smell it was a person. She fasted. She learned the Bates method, which is a method, exercises to release excess tension in the eyes. It's not to make the eyes stronger. It's actually to release the excess tension, which most people have. And one of the reasons I believe most people have that tension, these this is like yoga for your eyes. So you can stretch. You can stretch. But if you're well hydrated, the tissue is always more flexible. Most people are dehydrated. So she changed her diet, did Bates, fasted. And the last time I talked to her, it's been years since I've seen her, but she was driving. She got her driver's license. Did not need glasses. She hit a lot of stuff.
She hit a lot of stuff.
No, she did.
She drove a bumper car.
She didn't. She got 20/20 vision as a result of making these changes. And it was such a powerful thing for her. She opened a center in Virginia Beach for African Americans with vision issues. And she brought me down twice to do full-day seminar there. And I subsequently fasted groups of her blind clients as a result of that. And we saw amazing things happen with every person. Yeah, not everyone's going to get 20/20 vision, but we saw some amazing shifts, and we've seen this with other things, with cataracts, with glaucoma, with age-related vision loss, macular degeneration. Virtually all of these conditions can improve for most people. Yeah, exactly. So it's common for people to when they're done here, to need to get weaker glasses. This happened to you, didn't it? Yeah. The glasses they started with are too strong by the time they're done. Now the key, remember, those of you that are still sort of have plenty of time to go, you want to keep them off and your eyes closed as much as you can, because your eyes will heal more quickly that way. The less you use them, the more they rest, the more healing that will happen. And it's amazing how quickly this happens sometimes. I'll tell you a couple of stories. One day, we were in our last location in the U.S., that picture I showed you guys last week. It was early in the morning, and I was walking through the living area, and a client had just sat down, put on her glasses, opened her book. She glanced down, she couldn't read, and she freaked out. Took her glasses off, happened to glance back down, and realized that she could now read without her glasses. This was like 5 or 6 days into her fast. Already it had changed so much that she didn't need the glasses, that they were so strong she couldn't read with them because it had improved so much in just a few days. That's not typical. Typically takes longer, but most people are going to see improvement. There's another woman who, also in that location, she had, she was only fasting for a week, and it was on around day 3, I think. I walked in. Back then I would go room to room to do vital signs. So I walked into her room to get her vital signs. She and her mother were fasting together. The older woman was in her 70s. The younger woman was maybe 45. And the older woman, I can't remember her name, one of her eyes was swollen shut, completely swollen shut. It looked like she'd been punched in the eye, except it wasn't black and blue, but it was swollen and completely closed. And I said to her, "What happened?" And she said, "I don't know, maybe a pillow scratch." And I said, I don't think that's a pillow scratch. Something else going on here. So I said to her, "Is there anything different about that eye?" It was just one eye. "Is the left eye different than the right eye?" And she said, "No." And then she said, "Well, that's the eye I have glaucoma in." I said, "Okay, and what do you do for glaucoma? How have you been treating glaucoma?" And she said, "I've been putting medicated drops in my eye 3 times a day for 8 years." I said, "Okay, well, I think what's happening in that case, based on that, is that your body is trying to get rid of all this nasty medication that's been absorbed into the tissue surrounding your eye." Okay, now, I mean, that was my guess. Fortunately, she was easygoing. She was like, "Okay," she was fine, no problem. I can imagine people freaking out, right? She didn't. And I'm still kicking myself right now when I think about this, because it never occurred to me to take a picture that morning. The next morning, I go back to her room to get her vital signs again, and her eye is completely back to normal. There's no sign of any swelling. It's fine. There was absolutely no evidence that it had ever been that way, except there was no more pressure. Glaucoma is intraocular pressure, and the pressure was gone. Now, for 8 years, she'd been getting medication to try to fix the glaucoma. It never helped. In 4 or 5 days of fasting, it was gone. So it's amazing. It's amazing what happens. I mean, some people, I think, imagine, oh, maybe it's more powerful, but how much more powerful can it be? And yet we probably see, I don't know, maybe close to 50% of our clients are eating a raw diet or a high raw diet and didn't get the results they wanted. And in some cases, it's been 20 years or more eating a perfect diet, and they still didn't heal. And then it happens in 4 or 5 weeks here. So there's really no comparison between what's happening now and what happens when people are eating. I've got one more story just popped in my mind. This was a client of the woman in Virginia Beach, one of her clients she was legally blind, most of her clients were, but she had a condition where there were holes in her vision. So if she looked at you close up, she would see your face, but you might not have a left eye. There'd just be a hole in her vision there. And then there'd be another hole on your right cheek where she could see nothing. And she began fasting. She fasted 21 days. Her eyes became bright red and somewhat painful right away, like in the first or second day. And again, fortunately for me, she was easygoing. She trusted me because she didn't freak out. She was like, "Okay, we'll see what happens." She began refeeding, and I don't think we really noticed the change until she was eating again a few days. But what happened for her was, not only could she see much better when she was done, but there were no more holes in her vision. That had changed. So, again, it's amazing things that happen. Yeah, you're welcome. We got lots of stories. We had a woman about 3 years ago. I can't remember where she was from. She lived in the U.S. but was from somewhere in Eastern Europe, I think. And in the 3rd week of her fast, her vision started to deteriorate. It looked worse. And she, unfortunately, was not easygoing. She freaked out and was like giving me a hard time, for ruining her eyesight. And I tried to convince her that she was going to be perfectly fine. She wasn't hearing it. She insisted on taking eye drops, which is a bad idea. But ultimately, before she left here, she came and apologized and said, "You're absolutely right. My vision's much better now than it was when I got here." So you just want to be patient. Let your body do what it needs to do. Sometimes as you mobilize stuff that's been in your body, I mean, and this is interesting because most of you right now have been around for a while. Right? I mean, this group sitting here with me right now, most of you guys are old enough that you've probably accumulated a fair amount of toxic stuff in your body. And so as that stuff mobilizes, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect how you feel, in most cases. Now, some people feel okay the whole time. And Justin, you've been feeling pretty good since around the end of the first week. First week you had some difficulties.
10, 11, it started to clear.
Yeah. Right, so the last 10 or 11 days have been much better. But that's not always the case. It's okay. If something comes up for you, that is what we expect to happen. It's okay. There's rarely anything to worry about. All right. Any other vision-related questions? Hey, thanks for watching. If you're interested in more information about fasting in general, we've got a playlist there. If you're interested in fasting for specific conditions, you can check out that list. If you want to hear what people's experience was in their own words, we've got a group there, and then we've got another one which is all about optimal diet and how to maximize your health.